the study abroad part with the professors and the tour guide and the 26 other students that were there with us was very smooth. We got to do a lot and it all went really well. We definitely got a lot of stories out of the part where me, Jasmine, and Monet were by ourselves. We literally got in a taxi to go to the train station to get to Edinburgh, our first hour and a half alone, without the tour guide and without our faculty advisors or a group. It was just us three, and I threw up in the taxi.
When we were in the taxi, I just remember her just like, hey, can you give me a bottle of water? And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, I could feel her, like, I could see her, like, not feeling too well. I was like, okay, like, let me just get the water. And then she just starts throwing up, and I was like, okay, this is happening, this is happening.
I was throwing up, and I was like, oh, I need to calm Holly down so she doesn't punch this guy. And then I was like, oh, I can't stop throwing up, though. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let her punch this guy, because he's being...
he was being unnecessarily, like, just flat out mean about it. But we braved it, and we managed to get on the train without any seats. We braved a 6-hour train ride. I had a fever and was curled up in a corner with a jacket over my head trying to avoid everybody.
I felt really bad for Jasmine because I was like, she's so sick and there's nothing we can do because we're in the middle of nowhere.
It was very loud, but it was fun watching a bachelor party sing One Direction because it was like 10 30-year-old men chugging different bottles of alcohol singing One Direction, so that made it fun. We left our apartment in Edinburgh and we were wandering around and we were kind of like looking at the castles and everything there, and we go to lunch and Jasmine's like, I'm starting to feel like really, really bad again, so she went to the bathroom. She was in there for a while, so I went to go check on her and she was miserable, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go call a taxi and take us to the hospital. I got to experience a hospital in another place and I realized that their health system's way better than ours, so that was cool. And the doctor was cute. Sorry, babe. When we got to the hospital, I was like paying for the taxi, and then I come in and I see y'all at the counter and I'm like, okay, it's good. And then I just see Jasmine fall to the floor and you're like, oh my god, because she's asking you questions but you're worried about Jasmine. And I'm like, okay, you worry about Jasmine, I'll worry about the question.
I was trying to help Jasmine find her medicine, and then I think after a point Holly kind of had everything situated on her own, and so I was like, okay, let me just focus on Jasmine because she's like the one sick.
Then there's like, so what's wrong? And then I was like, oh shit, and I like dropped to the floor, and I like, what was it? It was the whiskey bag, wasn't it? Like that I got from the Scottish thing, and I was like, I started throwing up, and Monet was like, oh my god, and she like grabbed my hair and tied it back, and was like, it's okay. She's holding my back, like, or she's like patting my back, and then Holly was like, what were you asking? She's like, oh, her mom's name? Okay, and then she's like looking at her phone like, oh, here's her phone number. She's from here, blah, 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 like on the phone. I'm like on the floor throwing up. And he's like, it's just throwing up. That's the problem. Then I was like trying to answer it, and then I kept throwing up, and so you just like did all the talking. And Monet was like, just be quiet, just stay on the floor.
Those couple of days sucked being sick, but also I wouldn't take them back for anything, because I feel like that whole trip and that whole experience made me see things in a completely new perspective. I feel like it made friendships stronger, and I feel like it made me stronger in a sense too, knowing that, you know, like when you're in college and you get sick, like you call your mom like 10 times, like, Mom, I'm sick, blah, 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 but I couldn't really call my mom. I was like, we had to brave it ourselves and like figure it out, and I think that was like a big step in being a bigger adult instead of a little adult. Knowing that in certain situations, I can kind of be the one to relatively remain calm and kind of like help the situation instead of just like freaking out. And I think that's really important to do when you're in a foreign country, especially if you don't have your parents or professors or tour guides or anything. If it's just like you and your friends, that's something that you really need to do, and I wasn't expecting that of myself. I think there's just like a lot of growth when you experience going by yourself and just with your friends, and you guys are just generally, like, we went with the flow. We just walked around the streets of Dublin and Edinburgh. We walked up a hill for 5 miles when I had a fever and I wanted to kill Holly because she told me it was down the street, but it wasn't. And then we went up a hill that was never ending, and then on the way back is where we ended up going to the hospital, and I'm blaming on walking that 5 miles.
I would feel like, if anything, if none of this would have happened, we wouldn't have such an interesting story coming back. If to say that we just had a normal, yeah, we were just in Edinburgh, that was it. In Ireland. That was it.
I remember when we got to the apartment in Edinburgh, and I like posted something on Facebook, and I was like, we've been alone like by ourselves for like 12 hours.
I've almost gotten in 2 fights. Jasmine is like throwing up and she's sick, and Monet like is
It's
just
probably like
regretting
regretting coming.
like, oh my god, like worst
Why
idea
did I do
ever.
this?
No, but like I feel like if I wouldn't have come, like imagine what you guys would have been through.
Like, we wouldn't have made
killed
it.
each other.
No, I don't think we would have probably made it to Edinburgh. I feel like we probably would have like had to fly back.
Like all the little things, even though like the overall picture there was some bad things that happened, all the little things I think made it all worth it.